Before I even knew what a nice guy was in terms of the nice guy syndrome, I thought of myself of just that, a nice guy. And I truly believed that when I was being nice to people, that I was being genuine. But then I read No More Mr. Nice Guy. This was about 15 years ago. And it was like looking into a mirror. Every page felt like it was written about me. There was one thing in the book, though, that really hit me hard. It was almost like a gut punch. And that is that nice guys are actually really manipulative. And to me, that was a hard pill to swallow. I had these covert contracts, these unspoken deals where I'd give just to get, or I'd pretend to be whatever someone wanted me to be. But in reality, I was just trying to get my needs met. And my life was essentially a lie. I lied a lot. And generally, I lied what I thought was to protect other people's feelings, but really I was just protecting my own. I was packaging nice guy in a way that really manipulated others. My kind and accommodating nature was really a cover for my hidden agenda. I wanted to get what I wanted without feeling shameful or risking rejection and making somebody mad at me at the same time. Welcome to the Nice Guy Show. I'm your host, Chuck Chapman, and I'm joined today with my co-host, Faisal Khokhar and Ari Graff. In No More Mr. Nice Guy, Dr. Glover lays out that nice guys at their core are manipulative. They often struggle to make their needs a priority and have a hard time asking for what they want in a clear and direct way. The struggle then breeds a deep sense of powerlessness. And so in order to get the needs met, nice guys frequently resort to manipulation. And it makes sense because if you believe it's wrong for you to have needs or to make your needs a priority, you have to come up with some sort of elaborate way to get them met. I remember back in my early 20s, I had an appointment to get my hair cut by this cute girl. And then like an hour before the appointment, another girl calls me up and she wants me to come over. Now, I didn't want to piss off the hairdresser because A, she was cute and I kind of wanted to hook up with her. And I also just didn't want her to be mad at me for saying that I wasn't going to be there in such a short, I didn't give her a lot of time. So I came up with this idea and it was sort of on the spot. I said, yeah, I can't make it. My car just got stolen. And I don't really think she believed me, at least. I don't know, but at least she wasn't pissed, at least she wasn't upset with me. And this is just a crazy example of how I would cover up what I wanted instead of just saying, hey, sorry, I can't make it. I had to make up some sort of elaborate lie. I didn't want to risk a woman being upset with me. And so I made myself a victim so that she would feel sorry for me instead. And it was just a tangled web of lies because next time when I went in to get my hair cut, she was asking me questions, all these questions about my car being stolen. And, I had to make up more lies and more lies. And I think that was probably the last time I stopped going to her because I ended up kind of feeling bad about that. So anyway, Faisal, Ari, do you guys have any insights into nice guys being manipulative, especially with women? Faisal, we'll start with you.
Yeah, yeah. There's plenty of them. I was just speaking to a client the other day, and he was saying that he just started the coaching journey with me, and then he realized that he got really badly hurt. And he was saying, how much he did a lot of stuff for her, how he got used by her, manipulated by her, and how he was, the victim in this. And then unpacking, what was going on, he realized actually he too himself was manipulating in the situation. He too was telling porkies, as they call them, and making up stories, creating situations where he looked innocent, the victim in this, and wanting attention. And I've done that myself. One of the things that I learned about human behavior, especially there's a book called Human Nature by Robert Greene. And he really talks about how manipulative our dark side is, how manipulative dark side of every single human being is, and how much we do, especially as kids, to have attention, to have that connection. Manipulating, trying to make the other person jealous is a great way that I would try to get attention, try to get the focus back on me, try to avoid being the feeling of rejection, the feeling of not being good enough, the feeling of of wanting not to be abandoned, so she can, she'll go out with somebody else. So there are many ways that I have found that I can be manipulative. It's interesting because I remember I was with a girl, and what I asked her, and I've asked the girls I've dated this one question. I said, let's have a very uncomfortable conversation. And I always say to them, look, I want to share how I end up manipulating in the relationship. And then I'll share how I'm manipulating the conversation, like this is what I do. And, or, something that happened recently. And then I would ask them, how do you show up? What manipulation do you do? And most of the time they're like shocked. It's like at this conversation. And she's like, well, actually I do manipulate. And I'm like, of course you do. I said, everybody does. But what I saw was there was a lot of reservation about saying, actually, having that conversation, because not everyone's gone through coaching journeys. Not everyone's gone through taking a lot of accountability. Because I've gone through that coaching journey, my coaches, my therapist, my psychologist always says, okay, where do you show up manipulative? Where do you show up? So I had to have those very uncomfortable conversations with them. At first, I didn't want to. A lot of shame came up. A lot of embarrassment came up. I wanted to deny the fact that I was, have those traits in me, because I'm the good guy and the nice guy. So that was a very uncomfortable conversation. And some of the girls don't want to have that conversation. But some of them, the girls I go out with now, I filter well. They all take most of them take accountability. Not all the time, but
yeah. It's a way to manipulate somebody is to talk about manipulation, so that they will tell you what their manipulations are. We all, even sometimes in our attempt to be honest, we're still manipulating. And I think that's the thing that, like you said, all humans do. We manipulate because we have a need and we want. So, I mean, and I'm just throwing this out, not like diss you, but the way you framed it was, first you were vulnerable and then you asked her to be vulnerable, as opposed to just like, hey, be vulnerable with me and tell me what, So even our attempts to be vulnerable with people can be manipulative, and not necessarily manipulation is necessarily a nefarious thing all of the time. We have to sort of tee things up for people and get them to a place where they're comfortable to be able to talk about the things that we want them to talk about.
yes.
So I think that's the other important thing, is like manipulation in and of itself isn't bad, but it can be used for bad when telling blatant lies, like my car got stolen, or you're doing things that are, essentially hurting other people.
Yeah.
All right, what about Yeah, sorry.
I think that's a great conversation starter, Faisal. Yeah. I'm kind of curious about the results that you get. Do the women actually share ways that they manipulate?
Yeah, because whenever I have that conversation about, hey, where do you manipulate? It's like a wall that comes up. And again, the same thing when I'm coaching the clients.
A wall comes up or goes down?
No, it comes up because they're like, well, they feel it's quite confronting. So what I do is like I lead by example and just say, hey, look, this is how I show up. And what that does is that I'm going into, being vulnerable here, being transparent. And I know that some girls who haven't done a lot of work, that their shame comes up, their wall comes up. So when I'm saying, okay, look, this is how I show up, what it does is like, okay, cool. Because I'm being, it's people connect through vulnerability. They say, actually, you know what? You're owning that. It takes a lot of courage to do that. And what I noticed is that they started to find their courage to say, actually, I'm willing to have that uncomfortable conversation too, or I'm willing to share that discomfort because you've led and shown that. And again, same with my kids is like, hey, Alexa, I did this, I own it. This is where I am. And then after, sometimes my son or somebody else will come back and reflect and like, actually, you know what? I did that too, or I did something similar in that aspect of it. So some girls do it. Some girls are, like shocked at it. And some girls, they are some girls are very honest. I'm really sure that they're very honest. It's like, here where I was manipulating this, I did all of this. And even some of a lot of my clients, they are completely raw about it, and they like say, this is where I manipulate.
Yeah, I don't think I come up with like elaborate lies. I don't think that's my style. I think I have been manipulative in leading some women on that I wasn't truly interested in. Maybe I was interested in them just on a sexual level. So I kept things going longer than I should have. Or I intimated that I wanted something more from a relationship with them. So I think that's something I've been guilty of in the past. The other thing I was thinking about is just that I with like my family and friends, and when I was married, my ex-wife, just like manipulative with my feelings, like just always doing the poor me, like being the victim of life. That every new problem I faced was a big crisis, and that I needed, their reassurance and support. So it wasn't a good way to really get kind of the love that I needed. But it was what I was used to from growing up. So, I consider that kind of an emotional manipulation.
Yeah, and I think the point is that we all do it, and oftentimes we're really blind to our own manipulations. And I'm actually manipulate myself in a way of rationalizing or thinking like this is me being, a good guy or whatever. But so much of human behavior is about manipulation because we're trying to influence people to get what we want. And the practice then of, the nice guy is to try to understand what I want, and rather than using manipulation in order to get it, I'm just clear and direct and ask for my wants and needs to be met without having to resort to manipulation tactics because I'm afraid that I'm going to be rejected. I'm afraid that I'm going to not get my needs met. And so I don't think manipulation in and of itself is a bad thing. There's a difference between manipulation and coercion. Like manipulation is, you're trying to influence someone, or you're trying to get them to do something, and you can be deceptive about that. In other words, like I'm not, I'm intimating, I'm more interested than I am to get better surface. Versus coercion is really using some way, threatening somebody in some way that I'm going to, I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to hurt somebody you love if you don't do what I want you to do. And that's nefarious. That's something that is bad behavior all the way around. Have
So
you guys?
there's like a continuum of sort of awareness of what you're doing and malevolent intent.
Right. Because I think influencing is actually a form of manipulation, right? I want you to, and we do that, right? Like even with our children or something, I want my child to grow up and be a healthy individual. So I'm going to influence them, maybe follow me or something, which is a manipulation. And that's not to say it's bad. It's just is. And what we want to be aware of is when our manipulations get to a point of I'm doing this in order to protect myself in some way, that we're creating that insight so that we can just be more clear and direct with people about what we want, what we need in life.
I like what you said about we manipulate ourselves as well.
Yeah.
Because we are masters at that. Hey, it's cheat day. Oh, you know what? I worked out yesterday, so I deserve to have a glass of wine or ice cream or something like that. Oh, you know what? You're right. You did work hard, so go on. You can have that as well. So we're masters at getting away from accountability, taking things in ourselves, and we're masters at manipulating ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. I do it all the time, but I think when I'm able to stop and say, whoa, hold on. Am I being manipulative here? What is it that I really want? Okay. I don't actually, let's just be honest and say, I want the cake, or let's just be honest and say, I don't want to go work out today. You know? Versus like I've got to make myself feel good in some way to justify my actions.
Yeah.
But
It's like, I don't want to go to the gym. Be honest, you're being lazy today. I was like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. It's like, oh, my knee really hurts, or I've got that back injury, and oh, you're right. I better not do it because I'll probably take a risk at it.
yeah,
And then I had a conversation with myself. Actually, you know what? You can work around that. And the truth is, you're just feeling lazy today. That's what it is. So own that. And I did. And I was
yeah,
like, okay.
you got it.
And when I owned that, then I thought, oh, fuck it. I can go to the gym. So I actually went to the gym, went around it. Yeah, okay. I had some pain and injury. I'm like, you can really, if you wanted to work around that, you can.
For sure. Yeah. Are there any other ways you guys see yourself or find yourself, or maybe in others that are manipulative, maybe aren't so healthy?
I think as Ari was sharing about his ex-wife, one of the things I noticed that crocodile tears, like say I'm really helpless or I'm in pain or I have this. It's the guilt trip. I'm sure I've done the guilt trip as well, but receiving manipulation and the guilt trip, I feel really bad. And then she's in terrible state, she's crying. And then 2 minutes later, she's happy and talking to her friends. And I'm thinking, whoa, you just told me you're in a position like this. And this has happened in my past. And now you're okay and you're going to go out with your friends and everything's cool. But the story that you sold me is a very different story. So one of the things I'm thinking, where do I do that as well? So I'm always thinking about what's a manipulation, emotional blackmail, all of these things that come up.
Yeah. Yeah. As you were talking, I was thinking like my wife is super, super nurturing and compassionate. And, I'll just come on and admit here, hopefully she'll never see this podcast or listen to it. But I noticed that if I'm ill or have a headache or have some sort of, something like that, she's just really compassionate. And she's like, oh, baby, you go lay down. I'm going to take care of you. Let me make dinner. Let me take care of everything for you. And so there have been times in the past where she's wanted me to do something like yard work, and I really don't want to do the yard work. And maybe my back hurts a little bit, but not so much that can't do it. But I'll be like, yeah, my back is really hurting right now. And she's like, oh, go upstairs. I'll take care of this. Here's a heating pad. And like, okay. And I think the thing is like once you notice what somebody else's generosity is, it's really easy to take advantage of that instead of honoring it. Kind of when you were talking about what we do to ourselves, Faisal, I was thinking, yeah, so I do that, to my wife occasionally, where it's like, oh, I don't really want to do this, so my back hurts, and she's like, I got this. That's not a very masculine, nice thing to do.
That's a good wife, though.
Hey, she's a great wife. She's an amazing wife. Yeah.
My ex-wife,
sure.
when I got sick, it was just like, when are you going to be done with that? Which I think is because she was doing a lot of emotionally taking care of me. I mean, to be fair to her, so to take care of me when I was actually physically sick was too much. I mean, that's sort of the kind interpretation of her attitude.
But Faisal, have you ever manipulated somebody?
Have I? Yeah. I mean, of course. In relationships, like when Ari was sharing, I've done the same thing as well, leading people on, thinking, okay, you know what, we could have a future or something together, or settling down with somebody who's second best while you're waiting for someone amazing to come along. So that's a common, trait that I had, and the challenges with that one. Again, one of the things I already mentioned was, when I feel insecure, when I feel not good enough, then I'll start to panic, feeling scared, wanting to get their exclusive attention so they don't abandon me and leave me. So that's some of the ways I've, shown manipulation. I'm just trying to think of any lies I've told, like, my car's broken down or something like that. Maybe I think the subtle ones maybe have been the typical nice guy ones. Is like, yeah, do you like this? Yeah, I love this movie, and I love this kind of stuff, and I'm like, to my friends, I'm going, I fucking hate it. Saying the things that are agreeing with the stuff. Yeah, do you agree with this? Yeah, and yeah, I'm really into this stuff, and really like this kind of stuff, and really.
Well, guys, thanks for taking the time to listen to us as we have manipulated you to stay to the very end of the show. Thanks again for being part of the Nice Guy Show. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please remember, subscribe. It really helps us to reach other men. And if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast, make sure to subscribe there as well. Go to theniceguyShow.com so you can get on our mailing list. And if you like this podcast, check out podcast number 58, Why Women Love Bad Boys and Hate Nice Guys. Thanks again, and we will see you next time on The Nice Guy Show.
You've been listening to The Nice Guy Show with certified Nice Guy recovery coaches Ari Graff, Chuck Chapman, and Faisal Khokhar. Be sure to subscribe to this channel so you can listen to our latest episodes and visit us on www.theniceguyShow.com. If you have any topics you'd like to hear us discuss, send us an email at support@theniceguyShow.com. Thanks for listening.